was a wild game. 44-29 the final score, but you saw quite a bit of everything. Blocked punt, punt that hit the ceiling of the Dakota Dome. You had a 2-point conversion returned by the defense off a blocked extra point. So a lot going on. I think from Western Illinois' standpoint, they jumped out to a great start, 14-0 lead, then gave up 20 consecutive points and still found a way to win by 15 in double digits. So I think from their standpoint, maybe defensively not their greatest game, but they really buckled down in the second half. And offensively, this team is really clicking right now. Trenton Norvell, a career high, 5 touchdown passes. J.C. Baker ran the ball really well. And Kevin Moore, their backup running back, was 2 yards away from rushing for 100 yards himself. So this team is really clicking offensively, and I think they had some encouraging signs defensively in that game against South Dakota. It's so different watching him now and this past weekend against South Dakota and back in August when they played Valparaiso, and then the following week Wisconsin, and earlier in the season he wasn't reading defenses as well, and he really has done a terrific job reading defenses, and that really starts before the snap. And head coach Bob Nielsen told me that is the biggest difference between Trenton Norvell now and before the season. And to give you an example from that South Dakota game, 3rd down, 11, they're down 20 to 16. So they've given up those 20 straight points. They've blocked the extra point, returned it all the way back for a 2-point conversion. So 20 to 16, 3rd and 11, their offense is sputtered out, and he drops back to pass. Pressure's coming. He rolls out right a little bit, still surveys the field, and then, and he never would have done this earlier in the season, pulls the ball down and runs for the first down. He's not going to run for 100 yards in a game, but he's been a lot smarter about not forcing throws and just taking what the defense gives him. And when he's got an opportunity to take a shot down the field, he's got a great deep ball. I think that's a big thing between Norvell and some of the other quarterbacks in the league. He throws a really pretty deep ball, and he hit I.C. Scott for 34 yards and a touchdown. Lance Lenore had a gigantic 42-yard catch in that game against South Dakota. So Trenton Norvell, I think the game's slowing down for him as he's in his sophomore season now. I don't know if they feel overlooked, but I think that they feel that they can compete with anybody, and I think that was their attitude coming into the season. It didn't matter if they were going to Camp Randall Stadium or if North Dakota State was coming in. I really think this team believes that they could beat anybody in the nation, and they've been so close throughout the season. You mentioned North Dakota State having a lead into the fourth quarter. They led by 21 points late in the third against Illinois State, who was undefeated at the time, and you're right, they played pretty much everybody well. I think they're still a year away. I think next year they really have a chance to do some damage, but you could see that they're so close and they're on the right path, and what Bob Nielsen's doing with the program and stocking it up with a lot of young talent that will be here for years to come, you could see that they're on the right track in rebuilding this program. At the beginning of the year, they were a little bit skeptical of their talent. I mean, a lot of the guys that are contributors, especially offensively, are still sophomores. Norvell is a sophomore. Devin Moore is a sophomore. Lenore, Borsellino, they're all sophomores. A lot of the offensive line is sophomore, so the offense is really young in particular. And I don't really think they knew how good they could be. And then when they kind of hung around against Wisconsin, they hung around against Northwestern, they were good for a half against Southern, and then they had that North Dakota State game. I think they realized, we may be young, but we can still compete with most of these teams. And even though they're not going to be in the playoffs, I think a lot of them are really excited for what they could do next season once they're a year older and have another offseason under their belt. They want to play spoiler. And so their mindset coming off that game, kind of an emotional win against South Dakota, the way they got off to a great start, fell behind, and then were really able to storm back and take control in the second half. I think that prior to that, coming off the bye, playing well before that, maybe not winning a lot as much as they'd like, but I still think they're a pretty confident team in what they do. I think that offensively they've found their identity, and defensively still trying to shore things up. They've been pretty decent against the run for the most part this year. They've been hurt a lot passing-wise, but that's a lot of injuries, and they have a lot of players playing in the secondary. In fact, they have 5 different starters at free safety this season, and 2 of them are by freshmen. So you could see, maybe not as healthy as they would like back there, but I still think that they feel they can go into South Dakota State, and they know South Dakota State's a terrific team, but I think they feel that they could compete with them pretty well.